Hello, everybody. Welcome back to What of the World We Started. Today we're on episode 18 after the war. As you can see, we've got many new countries in the Americas, Europe, Africa, and across the world. We're going to get right into it. And the first thing we're going to have happening today is all of the world being discovered. So Australia and New Zealand, which also means we're going to have some new countries forming, with one forming down here in New Zealand. Like so. Here. We also have another one forming in Northern Australia, or Northeast Australia more so. Nice. Have another one forming in the west. And finally one down here. And also one in the middle. We're just going to have the Indonesians expanding this. No, not like that. Expanding this colony. The west is going to expand up to this line. And the rest is going to be taken over by these two. Especially the Reds, who are going to take all of Tasmania as well. And expand like this. And here. Lovely. This is our new Australia. We also see a civil war breaking out simultaneously in Indonesia as some regions feel very neglected, such as this one, who immediately breaks away to form their own nation down here. We have all the eastern regions coming together to form a new commonwealth of nations of such. Like so. Here we are. We have another one forming. Basically, it's just a complete dissolution of this country. They aren't able to run it as before. The final one is going to be in Java. Like so. Here we are. We've just completely dissected Indonesia. Lovely jubbly. Over here, we're going to have a lot of tension building up until eventually we see a war breaking out between the Persians, which is still technically a puppet, and the Gulf country based on the treatment of their peoples in this region. So the Persians are going to be sending their forces across the border into this region, attempting to capture a few major cities, and mainly pushing straight towards the Arabian Gulf, which they do successfully, splitting the country into two, and they capture this major city over here. And now, with the fall of the city, they rapidly flood into this northern region here, capturing Kuwait as well. Also pushing down into this area and capturing this entire area. They also push up into this northern region here, before we also see the Mesopotamian country annexing this. And then once again, internal instability is going to come out of nowhere and going to rise up, especially down here, where we see a southern country forming right here. Like here. Right here, this country, quite a large one. We have a coastal one forming in the UAE and Oman. And finally, we have the rest of the country reforming to form a new government here. Nice, this is a new government, and this country will be this area will be annexed into the puppet state, who finally gains freedom from the Central Asian country and moves their capital to here. That's actually too big. 1 second. Here, and then very cool. These two countries get their own capital. This one gets it here, and this one gets their capital in here. Finally, we also see internal instability getting the better of the Egyptian country. So they thought they were invincible, but apparently not. As protests erupt in the south of the country, eventually creating a revolution, who absolutely floods to the south here, taking this entire Hijazi region. And once they reach here, they actually do end up slowing down, but not after capturing swathes of the territory, which encourages other groups to rise up, especially this one right in here, along the Levant. We have one rising up in the actual Levant region. From here, it's pretty certain that the Egyptian government won't make it to the end. But before then, we also have a Sudanese movement popping up down south here. They also expand along the borders of these countries to form something like this before they eventually expand up here. And finally, Egypt will change governments to this new one here. Very cool. We're going to have the partition of this land in the center here, where it's mainly just given to this country down here, who takes the western part, and Sudan, who takes the eastern part, as well as this bit of Libya here. Yeah, Sudan's growing. Very cool. Now we also give a quick map change with all these capitals. They put their capital right here. This country puts their capital in here. This one on the coast. Logical. The Egyptian country puts their capital inland on the Nile. This country puts their capital right here. Down south. And yeah, that'll do it. That's all the countries that need a capital. Very cool. Now we're going to see a few wars going on across the world. Number one, we see the Iberian country right here declaring war on their neighbor, the old colonial Iberian country. Their forces rapidly advance into the country before eventually take all of it, get us a peace treaty, full annexation, and the say goodbye to any remnants of the old Iberian government. This is like our new Spain. Also, we got to give a capital to this European country here. I'm just going to take this one. We also see a brief war in Europe here with the Bosnians quickly taking out the Montenegrins, further adding to their land. The city is completely raided and destroyed, which is why it's no longer on the map. Very cool. So yep, just a fill in of the border. Nice. Here we are. We also see a quick annexation of Cyprus by the Greek team. They were technically independent, but the Greeks didn't want to. So yeah, we also have a quick partition in Central Europe occurring of Serbia, once again by the rapidly expansionist Bosnians. So yeah, we see the Bosnians making the first move, moving in from the west and quickly capturing the capital city. And once this major city falls, we have the Bulgarians also moving in to take out the land they wish to claim. Once it's all over, we see a peace treaty looking something like this. And we see the old capital city returning to the map, as well as a few others. Very cool. Okay. Now we're going to have a major civil war occurring in none other than Russia. As you can see, Russia is the largest country in the world, I'd say. They're absolutely huge. And they have gotten quite large. And if your capital's over here, it's kind of hard, especially in the 1500s or the 1600s, to manage territory that's all the way over here. And even to the extent all the way up here. So yeah. But more so, anything I'd say beyond this boundary is almost impossible. Hard from here. And yeah. Same with China, it's hard to manage anything outside of this zone here. And Japan, hard for them to manage anything outside this circle, especially in this time period. But countries like, that's why colonialism is expensive and quite often it fails. But Russia is going to have a civil war, and they're going to have a quite brutal one at that. It's going to start mainly with anti-government protests as the brutal regime, I love how we're using regime in the 1600s, is not doing very good economically after the war, and instead of rebuilding, they're just rebuilding the lost population centers and helping like the people. They're just trying to rebuild the military, and the people don't like that. One sec. There we go. So yeah, the people are going to launch an anti-government protest, which is going to spiral out into a wider, an economic protest that's going to spiral out into a wider anti-government protest, with the capital city being occupied. It's quite a big area, actually, by protests who now start to spread across the more populated areas of the country. I mean, the whole country is populated, but this specific European area, of course, still. Wait, actually, wrong layer. But yeah, same thing. Start to expand. And eventually, they will capture the capital city, which is a major blow for the Russian country. However, most of the military is still on their side at this point. It's almost like the Russian Revolution. Like if you ever look at army sizes at the beginning, it was like 5 million for the whites, and then slowly they defected over. But yeah, once Russia splits in two, it's the beginning of the end, I'd say. As forces begin to defect over to the new government, and people out here are starting to be like, well, I don't really care what you say anymore. And they start to go against the government orders, and I'd say probably a group like this breaks off from them. getting something like this. Another group is also going to form, this time just in the coastal areas. These are all just independence groups, because remember, this area used to have its own countries, but they didn't anymore. That's for basically Russian expansionism. Imagine this scenario as if, like, because once again, Russia expanded like they did in real life, but let's say they weren't able to maintain it, and they eventually had to give it all up with a fight. Yeah. Anyway, Mega Russian Revolution. And we have another group popping up right here, who's mostly going to just take this inner region here. Quite a large section, but they do take it all. And the rest, the Russian government allows the green team to occupy. I don't know why, but they did. So the green team is going to gladly take the offer and expand themselves quite a lot to now become one of the largest countries in the world. And from here, Russia is beginning to collapse as this entire region falls over. And once again, as you can see in this series, countries who you may have thought were really strong fall apart really quickly. As we're seeing with this Russian civil war, as now Russian troops just start to pop up everywhere. They're just moving around. They're not actually going into most of the cities, but they're just capturing areas around them. Just ultimately what's killing them. And we even see pro-Finnish independence movements gain enough traction to launch their own offensive, even fighting anti-government protests and being a third party almost to try and get themselves independence from Russia, which they do get, looking something like this. Eventually, though, the Russian government decides it's best that they surrender, which is what they do. So yeah, the new Russian government is here. Let's give the Russian states some capitals. This one right here, in here, up there. And Finland is going to put their capital on the bay in the Baltic Sea. Very cool. This is our new world map. It's looking pretty cool if I say so myself. Now the last thing we have to do is give some capital cities to all these countries over here. So you in here, you down here, inland here, in there. And why not? Let's make a Pacific country. Who's actually going to... We're going to add in a second, but their capital city is going to go on the island of Fiji. So put that in now. So it's here and here. Give them some other major cities. So nice. Not many. This one only has like 3. This is a mainly coastal country, so they have quite a few on the coast. This is the most populated one, as it's the best climate. This one is the second most populated, and there's a lot of major cities as well. And yeah, this is what we've decided on. What I've decided on, more so. Nice, it's our new world map. Looking good. we're now going to add in the Pacific country. It's going to just take all these islands up here. They're also going to get some major cities. So, yep. Some in New Caledonia. Some in Vanuatu, some in Samoa, some in Fiji. Very cool. And so this is New Zealand country, who gets a few major cities themselves. Finally, we're going to fill in Africa with a few more countries just for fun. Okay? So this country also gets a capital city. Here. This one puts it here. 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 Lovely. We are going to get a new country who forms right in here. This is going to be quite a large country, but yeah. That looks weird, I don't know. That's very weird. That's not what I thought it would look like. Oh, it's on the wrong layer as well. Great, because that was ugly. That is not much better. That's what we've got in here. Another country down south. So it's almost a rump state, but not quite. Got a thin country forming in here. It's like Surrey in England, that's what it feels like. They get this major city. And let's make them a little bit less thin, because I don't like that. Let's actually break up the north and the south. And finally, we have this area becoming partitioned by its neighbors. And we also have a small, very small country forming in here. This is like the smallest mainland country in Africa, I'd say. But they're there. So we gotta respect that. Oh, that's the same color. Handy. Yeah, this is a lovely map. Give these lots a capital. So in here, here. And now for a few major cities. Just a few scattered around the country like so. A few more for Sudan as well, because they are actually bigger than I thought they were going to be, but yep. It's our new world map, looking good. Finally, we're just going to do a bit more expansion in South America with the Germans expanding down here, seeing all of this land. The Norwegians going ahead and annexing all of southern Argentina, Patagonia, Chile, all these funky islands down here. Expansion of the two Brazilian nations. This one moves into here. And the southern one tries its best to do the same. And actually this one's going to get Uruguay as well, so. And finally we also have a bit of English expansion in here, in the interior, before we have a few small nations just appearing out of the rubble. Have this one in here. Yeah, as you can tell, they're very blobby countries, but it's okay. That's fine. That's definitely okay. Anyway, capital in here, here, here. Major city, here, 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 here. Basically, we're just going to give a few more major cities to this continent because it's quite sparse. We're going to try and change that. Lovely. And yes, that's going to do it for today's episode. Except one last thing. We're just going to simply finish off the rest of America with the UK annexing all of this part of North America, as well as this weird bit in here. Japan are going to annex all of this. Moving down south here. The Chinese will annex quite a lot of land in the center here as well. Mexico expands north. Texas expands westwards. The US also expands deeper into the American continent. Until eventually the US makes a groundbreaking deal in which they unite with Texas to create a sort of better country. Eventually, they've decided on a capital location, which, funny enough, is going to be in modern day New Orleans, right here. They are going to get a few more major cities as well because let's populate North America, everyone. Nice. That's going to do it for today's episode. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe. Thank you. Goodbye.